past 9 in the morning, and here are the main news stories from the TSN team right now. And a quick reminder, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a like, and hit the bell so you don't miss our updates. Volodymyr Zelensky has arrived in the United States, where he will take part in the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Today, he is scheduled to speak at the Security Council meeting on Russia's war against Ukraine and to meet with Donald Trump. According to the White House spokesperson, he will deliver an important speech at the General Assembly meeting. The day before, Volodymyr Zelensky met with the President of Kazakhstan, Patriarch Bartholomew, the Special Representative of the U.S. President Keith Bielo, and the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva. As the President noted, they discussed the use of frozen Russian assets for the benefit of Ukraine and further close cooperation. 1 person was killed and 3 were injured as a result of a nighttime missile strike on the Odesa region. The Russians struck with missiles right in the center of the city of Tatarbunari, in the Bilhorod-Dnipropetrovsk district. 5 commercial pavilions were destroyed and the local hotel was partially damaged. Buildings belonging to Ukrposhta, Ukrtelecom, and the local employment office were also damaged. Shrapnel destroyed 3 passenger cars. It took rescuers an hour and a half to extinguish the fire at the impact site. In the Kherson region, 1 person was killed and 8 were wounded. The Russians shelled the regional center with artillery. An elderly woman who was in her yard was killed. Another city resident was hospitalized. He was injured by a petrol mine explosion. And in Novovorontsovka and Novoraisk, 3 people were injured by explosives dropped by the occupiers from drones. 17 private houses, a store, and a cell tower were damaged. 2 people were wounded in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The Russians struck the Pavlohrad district with ballistic missiles. The coastal communities of Nikopol district endured more than 30 attacks. Businesses, 3 private homes, vehicles, gas and power lines were damaged. The Sinelnikov district suffered from missiles, drones, and glide bombs. More and more settlements are being added to the affected zone. 1 person was killed as a result of the night attack on Zaporizhzhia. At night, the enemy dropped at least 6 aerial bombs on industrial infrastructure and private homes. Large-scale fires broke out. A man died. Rescuers recovered his body from under the rubble. Meanwhile, the number of people injured as a result of the airstrikes yesterday morning has risen to 4. 2 of them, a 20-year-old young man and a teenager, are in the hospital. 3 people were killed. Daria Nazarova visited the sites of the strikes and will now tell us more.
Explosion after explosion. That's how Monday morning began for the people of Zaporizhzhia. Just yesterday there was a parking lot at the site of this scorched ruin. Russian shrapnel destroyed the building and damaged Ukrainians' cars. Fires broke out at the scene. State Emergency Service rescuers spent morning putting flames. Civilian cars were damaged.
The explosion started at 5 a.m. I was scared for my husband because he ran to the parking lot for the cars. I saw volleys coming from that direction. My husband called and said that something hit our parking lot. He doesn't know what happened to the cars. I immediately got dressed and rushed over there.
Some cars were burned out completely. They have no windows and are dented all over. My husband says he already moved ours away, but my friend's car is still there.
All the doors are warped, some even cracked, even though the metal is good quality. The windows were blown out and my husband tried to open the trunk, but it won't open.
In the Shevchenkivsky district, enemy shrapnel struck directly into a building. The owner of the apartment was trapped under the rubble. Unfortunately, the 75-year-old woman had no chance of survival. The shockwave also damaged the neighboring house. Senia says that this is already the 3rd time her family has suffered from enemy shelling. On September 6th, the house came under attack by Shaheds. There is a restoration program in place. They managed to repair it and install new windows.
The windows were just installed the day before, because those 3 windows were also missing. We replaced them. Unfortunately, we'll have to replace them again. These doors will be blown out. The powerful shockwave caused severe and extensive damage because it hit our doors directly, perpendicularly. Maxim then had to unblock the demeanor.
Now we'll have to clean up here. But the main thing, Ksenia says, is she and her mother are alive. The cat Mozart survived.
He ran very quickly outside to play, and then his mother could not call him back. The air raid alert started, the shelling began, and we couldn't find him. We searched for him all morning, and now he has finally come back.
Living here is becoming more and more dangerous, Ksenia admits. She has repeatedly told her mother to move to a safer part of the city.
But Mom is very attached to our house. These are our native walls, these are memories that are very hard to let go of, but maybe we should. At some point, you have to realize that walls are just walls, but you only have one life.
Another bomb fell in the Shevchenkivsky district, but fortunately it did not detonate. Later, pyrotechnicians neutralized the Russian munition. The attack on the city claimed 3 lives. 2 more people were injured. In the city, 15 apartment buildings and more than 10 private houses were damaged. 2 of them were reduced to ruins. Daria Nazarova, Andriy Kupovka, Zaporizhzhia, TSN 1+1.
The Shevchenkivsky District Court of Kiev found a former employee of the State Security Administration guilty of murdering teenager Maxim Matarukin at the funicular station. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. On April 7th of last year, a former employee of the State Security Service, while intoxicated, pushed the boy during a conflict at the exit of the funicular. Maxim Matarukin fell onto a piece of glass and sustained fatal injuries. 7 of the boy's friends witnessed the incident. The prosecutors demanded life imprisonment for Kosov for premeditated murder, and the case was personally prosecuted by the Prosecutor General Ruslan Tkachenko. Artem Kosov himself admitted his guilt and repented in court, saying he could not have imagined that his actions would lead to such consequences. But he does not agree that the murder was premeditated. Today, Maxim Matarukin would have turned 18 years old.
This is a TCH broadcast. The most important news as of 9 a.m. You are watching the news from TCH. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave comments on the broadcast, and I will continue.
He complains about the West but is ready to offer Trump nuclear arms limitations. In his speech, the Russian dictator Putin spoke about control over strategic weapons, the last significant treaty on the reduction of strategic offensive arms, which specifically limits the number of both Russian and American nuclear warheads and their associated missiles, is currently set to expire in February of next year. Boom! At the moment, negotiations on its extension have not yet begun, in particular against the backdrop of disagreements over Russia's war in Ukraine. So Putin stated that Russia proposes to adhere to the limitations for a year, provided, of course, that the United States takes a similar step in response. After that, however, Moscow reserves the right to reconsider the restrictions. He says the decision will be made according to the situation. Airports in Denmark and Norway suspended operations due to the appearance of large drones. The night before, the airspace over Oslo and Copenhagen was violated by unknown drones. Several drones were spotted over the airports, so they were completely closed. Departures were cancelled and arrivals were redirected to other airports. After a few hours, the drones disappeared and the airports resumed operations. Drones were also detected over a military facility in Oslo. This week, the city center will start being closed off every day at 9 a.m. This was announced by Timur Tkachenko, head of the Kyiv military administration. Very soon, during the National Minute of Silence, traffic on Khreshchatyk will begin to be stopped. The order is already being prepared, and then instructions will be distributed to the relevant authorities. According to the decision of the regional military administration, traffic will also be stopped on the main streets of settlements in the Kyiv region. France, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and Portugal have announced their recognition of the Palestinian state. This move has already drawn criticism from Israel. The respective statements were simultaneously released by the Canadian, British, and Australian prime ministers. A little later, official Lisbon joined them. The leaders of the British and Canadian governments emphasized that the decision is being made against the backdrop of military actions in Gaza, which have resulted in mass civilian casualties. At the same time, they added that the group Hamas has no right to participate in the future governance of Palestine. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister of Australia emphasized that the recognition of Palestine is part of a broader peace process. In particular, a ceasefire in Gaza, the release of hostages, and the creation of conditions for the coexistence of Palestinian and Israeli states. The President of France announced the recognition of Palestine during a speech at the 80th session of the UN General Assembly the day before. Belgium, Luxembourg, Malta, and Monaco joined him. As of now, over 140 of 193 countries worldwide have recognized the Palestinian state. Tens of thousands of Hasidic Jews have traditionally gathered in Uman in the Cherkasy region to celebrate the new year according to the Jewish calendar. This will be the year 5786 according to their calendar. It began on Monday after sunset and will be celebrated until September 24th. In the Jewish quarter of the city, where pilgrims traditionally stay, it's already impossible to squeeze through. Because of this, security measures in Uman have been tightened. On the evening before, the faithful visited the grave of their spiritual leader, Tzaddik Nachman. In the last year of his life, he called on his followers to celebrate the holiday together with him. His disciples interpreted this appeal as a call to visit his grave every year. Journalists from TSN witnessed the atmosphere there.
Rains and the heavy downpours.
Sharp cold snap rains and a sharp drop in temperature. Ukrainians have only one day to enjoy the warmth. Today it will be mostly dry. The temperature will remain at around 25 to 27 degrees Celsius, but starting tomorrow, according to meteorologists, it will begin to drop. Short-term rains will begin first in the west, and by Thursday they will spread further. And in the northern and eastern regions as well. Friday and the weekend are expected to be rain-free but cool. The average temperature this week will be between 11 and 14 degrees Celsius.
That's all for this edition, but there's still a lot of interesting content ahead. To make sure you don't miss anything, subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon. Have a great day, everyone.